We, the Students for Justice in Palestine, are the grandchildren of Nakba survivors, the children of Naksa survivors, and remain steadfast as a native people in an ongoing struggle for freedom. We invite you, students, faculty, administration, and all those committed to freedom and justice to join us as we share critical updates about SJP and the movement for Palestinian liberation at Rutgers University, New Brunswick. Today's press conference is both a celebration of the longevity of our struggle and the fruits of our collective power as students, as well as a reaffirmation of the fight ahead of us. Rutgers University is an active participant in Israel's colonization, ethnic cleansing, and genocide on Gaza. Through our investments and partnerships, we subsidize and profit from every bomb dropped on Gaza. We are here today to give a statement, emphasize our demands, give an update on our efforts, and urge the Rutgers administration to do better in protecting its students by ending its financial support of Israel's apartheid state and ethnic cleansing against Palestinians. Today, as a result of our collective efforts as students, we proudly announce that Students for Justice in Palestine has been reinstated at Rutgers University. But we are put on probation until December 2024. We recognize the attempted suspension of our organization is nothing short of a political posturing by Rutgers University in response to Zionist pressure. From the beginning, Rutgers knew they could not legally uphold our suspension. And after the rise of the We Are All SJP campaign, which was a mass mobilizing effort of over 150 Rutgers student organizations on campus expressing their support for a reinstated SJP, they knew that the academic community would not let this unjust suspension happen earlier either. In order to silence our just activism, the Rutgers administration has treated their Palestinian students with malice and disregard, either reproducing vicious anti-Palestinian racism and Islamophobia or allowing it to foster when students report it. For the last 3 months, none of us have felt safe on campus. From using our protected right to speech and assembly to advocate for Palestine, to visibly identifying with Palestine through wearing the keffiyeh, Rutgers University has fostered a culture of dehumanization, hatred, and fear-mongering against Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim students on campus. A culture that is stoked by popular media and elected officials alike. And tragically, just recently, this culture of hate materialized when 3 Palestinian American students at Brown, Hayford, and Trinity College were shot for wearing their keffiyehs. The Rutgers administration has not only failed to protect us adequately, but has not even paid lip service in saying that it wants to. There is genuinely something very dystopian as a Palestinian going to school, doing work, and taking exams while your family is currently displaced, dead, or missing in the rubble. Rutgers, a university that prides itself on its diversity, could have supported Palestinian students suffering during this time. Instead, our university has chosen to suppress our voices, experiences, and demands. When SJP found out that our organization was suspended, we did not think, even for a moment, that our organizing was suspended. What Rutgers didn't anticipate when suspending SJP is that repression breathes political clarity into campus life. We did not think the movement, the work, and the student power would temporarily halt. This was not and still is not an option for us Palestinians. The work does not stop until our homeland is liberated from the river to the sea. A top-down attempt to silence us cannot stifle a bottom-up movement. We are all students for justice in Palestine, and we are not afraid to raise our voices with dignity and pride to proclaim it. What we thought at that moment was that the Rutgers administration made a huge mistake by attempting to silence Palestinian voices at a time when it is most important for us to be heard. This is not an isolated incident, and we refuse to be silenced. Now and forever, we look forward and onwards unscattered, undeterred, and unrelenting, ready to fight for divestment and a liberated Palestine from the river to the sea.
Over the course of only a 2-week period, Students for Justice in Palestine was confronted by baseless, unjustified accusations, threats of disciplinary action, and intimidation attempts for our fierce organizing for Palestine. Just from the dates of December 8th to 20th, SJP members were asked to remove signs that read "Divest Now" as they were wearing their Palestinian keffiyeh while participating in a silent study in the library. Admin unjustly suspended SJP without any warning or formal communication, citing that SJP posed a substantial and immediate threat to the safety and well-being of others. This was in a letter leaked by the Rutgers administration to Zionist media. When SJP asked for clarification about our suspension, the admin refused to inform us, responding with faulty links or redirecting us to blank documents. Student organizers faced unprecedented harassment and doxing due to the Rutgers administration, including the leaking of our suspension letter, which included the name of an SJP organizer. The Rutgers administration tried to pursue disciplinary action against SJP members who they claimed allegedly participated in a disruptive protest on campus, strategically overwhelming students during our finals week by providing little to no evidence of involvement and breaching disciplinary policy by giving students less than 72 hours to attend a hearing. Unrelenting interrogation by administration about our support for Palestine, including the cold disregard of a Palestinian member who vulnerably expressed that his family in Gaza has been massacred by Israel. We recognize that these meetings and suppression attempts were performative methods of scaring SJP out of action. Rutgers University was not and is not interested in hearing our voices, instead just hastening the process of our punishment and strategically delaying us in holding the university accountable for their complicity in Israel's genocide on Gaza. The unprofessional manner in which the Rutgers administration has treated their grieving Palestinian students is yet another example of the disappointing and poor leadership on campus, an action which reminds us that in the struggle for freedom, it is us, the students, community, and grassroots organizers who keep us safe. Time and time again, we are put in harm's way by the Rutgers administration. We have seen pro-Palestinian students harassed physically, verbally, and emotionally all over campus. We have had our student organizing leader doxxed. We have had threats of gun violence against us. We are over-surveillanced, over-policed, and monitored by national security, and Rutgers still has the audacity to be explicitly Islamophobic as to name us a threat to the safety of others on campus. However, this does not surprise us, because Rutgers is a corporate entity, a money-making machine that acts in its best financial interests. They are an oppressor. Being so, they use the machine that acts in its best. Being so, they use the tactics of oppressors all around the world. They villainize the victims the same way Israel does to Palestine, the same way the United States does to Black, Indigenous, and other colonized and oppressed people and nationalities on this land. Being dehumanized constantly is nothing new to us. But regardless, we cannot let them achieve the normalization of this behavior, and we will not let this go unchecked. We, a collective of people with one goal to liberate all oppressed people, have consistently had to keep ourselves safe. We are our own protectors. We have come together in unimaginable numbers, and you all have shown your unwavering support for us. You have shown Rutgers that SJP will not go down easily. We will not cower from hurdles they place in our way. We are descendants of some of the most resilient people on earth. It is not in our blood to allow others to determine our own future. To keep our community safe, we have to use the tools put in place to oppress us against the oppressors. Because Rutgers will not keep us safe, we will. We will remain steadfast, determined, and committed to creating a safe campus for all oppressed and Indigenous populations, undistracted. We know that our focus must continue to be divestment. And with this clarity, we now announce our divestment demands.
Economic divestment is a tool for liberation that has been used in the struggle against South African apartheid, the struggle against environmental degradation and private prisons, and is now being used in our struggle for a liberated Palestine. Students for Justice in Palestine proudly endorses and organizes alongside the Endowment Justice Collective Coalition, which are members of the New Brunswick community that value ethical responsibility over complicity in oppression in pursuit of divestment from Israel's genocide on Gaza. Fueled by our tuition and donations, our university's endowment should be a source of pride, not a portfolio of profiteering from Palestinian suffering. Rutgers' $100 million investment in the PGIM, Quantitative Solutions Fund, relies on Palestinian suffering to raise its profits. An endowment fund can be described as a university's investment pool that receives most of its capital from alumni donations. As of 2023, Rutgers University's endowment fund consists of $1.88 billion of investments in over 180 funds. The endowment fund becomes problematic when its investments support unethical causes. For example, the Rutgers University Endowment Fund is invested in Israeli treasury bonds in corporations deeply involved in Israel's settler colonialism, apartheid, and genocide of Palestinians. These investments include Lockheed Martin, Motorola Solutions, Boeing, and General Electric Company. Our endowment has been complicit in corporations that are directly involved in the military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, and the oppression and systematic subjugation of Palestinians. Rutgers' investment in Boeing is a blatant example of the conflict of interest that they hold. How can Palestinian students and the Rutgers community as a whole be expected to feel safe while their university willingly funds the arming of Israel's genocide on Palestine? The obvious answer is they simply cannot. Only through divestment from these destructive corporations can justice be brought to Rutgers endowment and the oppressed communities worldwide. In line with the 2005 Palestinian Civil Society call for solidarity, we, the Students for Justice in Palestine at Rutgers University in New Brunswick, endorsed the Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement, a global campaign promoting various forms of nonviolent pressure on Israel until it complies with international law and human rights norms. It takes inspiration from the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa and seeks to end international support for Israel's oppression of Palestinians and pressure Israel to comply with international law. Unfortunately, Rutgers ignored all other ethical concerns highlighted in the request, betraying the scarlet values they had cited when divesting from South African apartheid. Rutgers has forgotten its legacy of divestment, so our work is not done. I am calling on all students, faculty, and staff to continue supporting SJP, specifically in our divestment campaign against Israeli apartheid. In simple terms, Rutgers University funds the settler, colonial, apartheid, Zionist state. Our tuition money goes to the occupation and apartheid and settler colonial system in Palestine. As tuition-paying students and future alumni donors, we have a say in how our university represents us. It is incumbent upon us, you, and Rutgers to act with a conscience. To divest is to stand for humanity. To divest is to choose right from wrong. The Rutgers administration had once funded the South African apartheid state, and it was the students through collective action who demanded divestment. As a result of the international pressure, the apartheid system fell. Palestine is our demand, no peace on stolen land. We demand that the Rutgers administration invest in its endowment fund ethically.
Thank you. The demands that we have for the university are clear. 1, Rutgers University must identify and terminate the position of the administrator who leaked a private suspension letter including the name and contact information of a member of the Students for Justice in Palestine to media outlets, and issue a public apology for compromising student safety. Demand 2, we reiterate our previous 5 demands made to Rutgers administration, which we have received no response on despite repeatedly addressing the administration with them since November 9th. 3, Rutgers University must incorporate anti-Palestinian racism, which includes Nakba denial, into all of its mandatory DEI training and race-based curricula for faculty and staff. 4, Rutgers University must provide resources for Palestinian and Arab students on campus in the form of an Arab cultural center. Now, our previous 5 demands are: 1, Rutgers must divest its endowment fund from Israeli bonds and corporations upholding the Israeli settler colonialism, apartheid, and genocide. 2, Rutgers must end its agreement with Tel Aviv University, which welcomes TAU as a partner in the Helix Innovation Hub. 3, Rutgers must protect Palestinian students and advocates exercising their political rights. 4, Rutgers must release a statement from the Office of the President acknowledging the ongoing genocide against Palestinians, its impact on the Palestinian community at our university, and advocating for a ceasefire. And 5, Rutgers must hire additional professors specializing in Palestine and settler colonial studies and institute a department of Middle East Studies. Thank you.
To the Daily Targum and all other press news outlets, we implore you to stand on the right side of history and not be subjected to manipulative Zionist methods that have primed audiences to expect us to die and consider our suffering common sense. Stop using the term Israel-Hamas war to describe what is going on in Gaza. Here are some reasons. Number 1, the Zionist entity is not just attacking Hamas. The settler colonial state is attacking 2.3 million Palestinians besieged in Gaza. It is Gaza being attacked. It is not a war, it is an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. Number 2, Gaza is not a neighboring country. It is a part of Palestine. The West likes to separate and make it seem that Gaza has a government. Yet that is not the case. The Zionist project completely controls the man-made camp. It is a literal ghetto created for leftover Palestinian refugees from 48 by Israel. And you are in a constant war zone where Israel bombs you whenever they want. Most Gazans are originally from 48 or so-called Israel and sought refuge in the region after being exiled from their home by Israelis. It is a 365 square kilometer strip of occupied land in Palestine. Number 3, the Gaza Strip is a besieged region due to the nearly 17-year naval blockade and land siege. It is recognized as an open-air prison where half the population is children under the age of 18. You cannot leave and you cannot get out. Since there is no economy, you must depend on the Zionist state for all your supplies. That is, if they even give them to you. Newsflash, they don't. You are in a constant war zone, where Israel bombs you as they please. Number 4, Palestinians in Gaza do not have an airport, let alone nuclear weapons as possessed by the Zionist entity or defense capabilities such as Israel's Iron Dome. Number 5, Israel has bombed hospitals, schools, apartment buildings, UN buildings, and more. As a result, there is a massive humanitarian crisis. At least 30,000 Palestinians have ascended to martyrdom. Number 6, those speaking out against this and organizing for a ceasefire are not anti-Semites. Criticisms of a state and its genocidal policies is legitimate and a part of the democratic process. Number 7, leading scholars of genocide have stated that what is going on right now is a genocide, and many Israeli politicians have openly stated their genocidal intent. Besides the fact that leading scholars have said this, maybe you should just believe Palestinians when they tell them to you.
We, Students for Justice in Palestine, will continue to remain steadfast in demanding an end to Rutgers' complicity in Israel's genocide. We are students who see journalists such as Bisan and Mu'taz mobilized to educate the world amidst a genocide, and we are inspired by their courage. We see their fearlessness, despite watching their neighborhoods torn to shreds and their loved ones murdered, and we are reminded that we too must be fearless. The movement continues, not despite those oppressive conditions, but because those conditions must end. We, Students for Justice in Palestine at Rutgers University, are more energized and ready than ever. We are inspired by our resilient people who, despite enduring a genocide, remain steadfast, refusing to leave their homes and their land. We are not tired, and we are not demoralized, and we are not backing down. We are fueled by a righteous belief that the Palestinian people and all colonized and oppressed people deserve to live in freedom, and we believe that we have the power to make that happen. We, holding on to the memories of humiliating Israeli checkpoints, violent home raids, and the mass arrest of Palestinians, understand our responsibility to struggle for Palestinian freedom. We are the same students that have tight grips on cell phones as we call our family overseas, hoping another one has not been killed. We are not afraid. For the last 3 months, Rutgers University has shown that they will not uplift the movement. They will suppress it. But the students have shown that they will keep organizing for Palestinian liberation. The passion for justice that exists in the hearts of this academic community is enough to propel us through any obstacle and any oppression. Rutgers administration, you are complicit in the ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. Let it be clear that we, the academic community, representing tens of thousands of students, faculty, staff, and alumni, demand divestment. To the people here today, I want you to look to your left, to your right, and look all around you. These are your friends, your peers, your siblings, and your comrades. This is who we are accountable to and who will have our back no matter what Rutgers administration tries to throw our way. This is the movement for Palestine on campus. Let us be bold and empowered to move together, hand in solidarity until liberation. We will continue to fight for SJP, for Palestine, and for divestment. This is only the beginning.
I would like to start off by thanking much of the Rutgers student body. The thousands of you who rushed to support us and demanded our reinstatement showed the magnitude of Palestinian support on campus. Thank you. Over 150 student organizations signed on to our call for reinstatement. Our letter condemning the university's racist suspension has over 25,000 likes on Instagram. For context, that is over half of the school's total number of students enrolled. It's a big number. The message that we are all students for justice in Palestine has been made clear. And personally speaking, as a Palestinian, that sentiment alone has made me feel seen in a way that I've never been allowed to know before, and I am so grateful. Thank you. Speaking as a representative for the group, however, I'm here to remind us that the sentiment cannot and must not stand alone. It is imperative that every single one of us practice what we preach. We've surpassed 100 days of the genocide, and our university has remained unwavering in its support of Israel's attempt to slaughter every last resident of Gaza. That remains steadfast. As the Students for Justice in Palestine, we must keep our voices loud and clear. We must continue to use our voices, our energy, our creativity, and our passion to demand divestment. Our individual calls for a ceasefire are simply not enough. We must hold our school accountable for its complicity and support of Israel. We cannot allow the money we give for our education to be used to rain down bombs and white phosphorus on the heads of families. Understand that Rutgers will not call for a ceasefire until it stops profiting off of every 3-year-old that cries for help as she's trapped under the rubble. Do not stop speaking and acting for Palestine. Call for our university's divestment. Urge your student org to join the Endowment Justice Collective and actively contribute to the end of Rutgers' support of the occupation, and report any discrimination to the Office of Civil Rights. We have long surpassed the need for well wishes and TikTok filters. We need to play our part. You need to play your part. Thank you.
A message to President Holloway. President Holloway, in your adoption of the Zionist narrative that our existence is a threat to Israel, you have knowingly or unknowingly securitized your students. President Holloway, in your lack of scrutiny of discourse that frames our calls for freedom as inflammatory, you have knowingly or unknowingly endorsed our permanent subjugation. While you label our calls for freedom as threatening, you respond to the presence of the Proud Boys and Candace Owens on campus as free speech. President Holloway, in your continuing financing and normalization of the settler, colonial, apartheid, Zionist state, you have knowingly or unknowingly supported the ongoing genocidal campaign that threatens my family, the kin and beloved of so many students, faculty, and staff. It threatens to unravel the fabric of our humanity. In the face of this disappointing leadership, SJP will continue the legacy of all marginalized student groups who have had to fight to win, take the risks to make change, and be the change we want to see. May we endure this long temporary pain for a lifetime of liberation. May we remove the walls and barricades in Palestine. May we see liberation within our lifetime. We, the students for justice in Palestine, demand equal spaces for us to say, long live the Intifada, globalize the Intifada, long live Palestine. If press or news outlets have any questions or clarifying questions that they want to ask us, you can.
Can you talk a little about the allegations that were made in this complaint and
The allegations, why we were suspended?
Yeah, and what you thought about the decision of the university?
Okay, so number one, the allegation, our response was that they violated privacy. That was number one, because they doxed a member of our student organization. They put her or him at risk, which is completely unprofessional and ridiculous, because we are students and this is our university, this is our campus, and we want to be treated like students. Students for Justice in Palestine are also students. We don't want to feel threatened on our campus. That's number one. Number two, when we didn't know that we were suspended by administration. Journalists were just calling us on our phones, and we were like, "Oh, you're suspended. Can we talk to you?" And we were like, "What do you mean we're suspended? What are you talking about?" And then we reached out, and they're like, "Yeah, you're suspended." And they wouldn't even respond to us. They would respond with unprofessional. They responded unprofessionally with emails that had so many spelling errors. The links were broken. They didn't work. The administration has just proven time and time again that they are incompetent. They don't even know what they're doing, and that they knew that they could not uphold the suspension, and that's why we are reinstated through our collective action. They knew that they were wrong and that they had no legitimate reason. Number three, they violated due process. The entire way they suspended us was unprofessional. And not to mention the fact that Hillel and Chabad continuously threaten us on campus, and they have not investigated them, despite the fact that we feel safe on campus.
I also want to mention that the timing of the suspension is incredibly insensitive to Palestinian students. This is the biggest genocide that we have seen since '48, and we are the sole voices on campus for Palestine. And so when SJP is suspended, it's not just our organization that gets suspended, it's the advocacy for Palestinian liberation that is being purposefully silenced on campus at a time when it is needed most, at a time where we have seen over 25,000 Palestinians killed, and that's only reported. Many more thousands are displaced or under rubble or lost. So when we are suspended, who on campus is speaking out against this violence?
And I would also just like to raise another point, and that's of the idea of creating a threatening environment on campus. We have been threatened. I believe it was Chabad threatened us with gun violence, and then Rutgers said, "Oh, we aren't able to act on that." They deleted the Instagram caption. That was written by a Rutgers student. That was a Rutgers student who threatened gun violence, and they didn't act on it. We call for the liberation of people, and they're going to treat that as a threat? I mean, that's absurd. That's just...
For those who don't know, the caption said, "Armed, strapped, locked, and loaded." Yeah, I still memorize this from November. It's all ingrained in our head. And that's just like that's like one thing, and it's not even the biggest thing. It should also be noted that every single time we do an event, we have to have problems, and we literally are full-time students. Like, we have exams, we have essays to write. Not all our professors are accommodating. At this point, I don't major in my humanities subject, I major in SJP, because this takes more time than literally anything I do. And it's actually ridiculous. This event, I had so many problems to do, and I had an essay to do, and I did not even do it. So that's just like ridiculous. That's all how we feel. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you guys.